You ever have one of those days when you wake up thinking it's gonna be just another boring Tuesday, and then, bam, the universe smacks you upside the head with something wild? Yeah, that was me last fall. I'm Joe, well, technically Joseph, but no one calls me that unless I'm in trouble, and I live out in the English countryside these days. Don't ask why an American like me ended up here, long story, mostly involves a broken heart and cheap beer. That morning, the sky was this dull gray, like someone forgot to turn the color up. I grabbed my beat-up old metal detector, same one I've had since college, and headed out to a patch of farmland I'd gotten permission to explore. Figured I might find a rusty nail or maybe an old coin if I was lucky. Spoiler alert, I was way off. So I'm out there, stomping through mud, half freezing my fingers off, when my detector lets out this sharp little beep beep. Now, usually that means a beer can, some old tractor part, or, my personal favorite, nothing at all. But this sound? It was solid. Like the detector was telling me, buddy, you're gonna wanna dig here. I start scraping away, thinking I'll find maybe a coin or two. Then I see it, a glint of gold, just a sliver, but enough to make my brain short circuit. My first thought? Nah, no way. Probably brass. My second thought? If this is gold, oh man, Joe, your landlord's never seeing another late rent payment again. I dig more, and suddenly it's like I've opened a treasure chest that's been sleeping for over 1,000 years. Bits of gold, twisted into patterns I'd never seen, tiny red stones that look like they were still glowing from some ancient fire. My hands were shaking so bad I nearly dropped my shovel. I pulled out a strip of metal, looked like part of a sword hilt, covered in these insane interlocking designs. And it hit me, this wasn't some farmer's lost watch or a gold tooth. This was old. Really old. The kind of old that makes museums start drooling. I just sat there in the mud for a minute, staring at the thing in my hand. It felt heavy in a way that wasn't just about weight, like it carried the years with it. My brain was doing somersaults. Okay, Joe, you've either hit the jackpot, or you just dug up some ancient curse. 50-50 shot. I glanced around. The field was dead quiet except for the wind pushing against the hedges. No one was around. And that's when the little devil on my shoulder whispered, you could just keep it. No one would know. But then the angel on the other shoulder smacked me upside the head and reminded me that over here in England, if you don't report a treasure find, they'll make sure your next big trip is to a prison cell. So, I pulled out my phone, snapped a couple of photos, and called up the local finds liaison officer. Try explaining to someone over the phone that you might have just uncovered the medieval equivalent of Fort Knox. She thought I was joking at first, until I sent the pictures. Then there was a pause, followed by, don't move. We're on our way. An hour later, I'm standing there with 3 people in high-vis jackets, 2 of them carrying gear that looked like it belonged on some sci-fi set. They roped off the area, told me to stand back, and started gently brushing and digging like they were handling a sleeping baby. One of them, a wiry guy with glasses, kept muttering incredible, absolutely incredible under his breath. Piece by piece, they uncovered more sword fittings, gold plaques, fragments of shields, and more of those tiny blood-red stones. I later learned they were garnets, and the craftsmanship was so fine that even with modern tools, you'd have a hard time replicating it. By the end of the day, they had a table covered in artifacts, each one laid out like a jewel in a crown. And all I could think was, this was under my boots the whole time. Centuries of history, just sitting there. Over the next few weeks, the news broke, and I mean broke. Every paper, every TV channel, everyone wanted a piece of the story. American stumbles onto largest Anglo-Saxon treasure hoard in history. I couldn't go to the local pub without someone buying me a pint and asking, so, how much is it worth? The truth? The haul was estimated at millions. But here's the thing, under the Treasure Act, the value gets split between the finder and the landowner. Which, honestly, was fine by me. I wasn't in it for the cash. Okay, maybe a little for the cash. But mostly, it was the rush. The idea that I was the first person in over 1,000 years to hold these things. The money helped, sure. Paid off some debts, upgraded my gear, maybe treated myself to a vintage Mustang I'd been eyeing for years. But more than that, it changed the way I looked at the ground under my feet. Every field, every patch of forest, suddenly felt like it might be hiding a secret. And yeah, people still call me Treasure Joe now. I get invited to talks, metal detecting clubs, even a couple of university lectures. Which is hilarious, because I'm not an academic, I'm just a guy who followed a beep in a muddy field. But I'll tell you something, that day, when the detector sang and I struck gold, I felt connected to something bigger. Not just history, but the people who made that history. Warriors, kings, smiths who poured their skill into every twist of gold and every set stone. And somehow, across the centuries, their work found its way into my hands. Now, whenever I head out with my detector, I get that same tingle in my gut. Because you never know when you're gonna trip over something that changes your life. Most days, it's trash. A can, a nail, maybe a coin if you're lucky. But every so often, the ground gives you a gift. And me? Well, I'll keep walking those fields. Not because I'm chasing the next big payday, but because I know lightning can strike twice. And when it does,